Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News Podcast. We are buzzing as always. Lovely morning in Toronto right now. And we just had a great weekend, guys. Today we are recording on Monday, July 7th. By the time this episode airs, it will be Thursday, July 10th. So a couple days, this will be a pretty fresh one. And I'm super pumped for this one. We have one of the best content creators in the Hyperliquid ecosystem coming on the pod today, the one and only Tobias Reisner, the founder of TR Ventures and a crypto researcher focused on early stage ecosystems. He shares in-depth research and investment theses with a growing international audience, and his recent work has focused heavily on Hyperliquid, which is how I found him. And again, just bangers, literally just the founder of the Bangers Only Club. Every tweet is an absolute slapper. Everything Hyperliquid related, tokenomics, emerging builder ecosystem, Hype Core, HyperEVM, you name it, he covers it. Tobias, welcome to the show, my friend. Pumped to have you on and love that you're wearing the Hyperliquid green suit for the show today.
Yeah, thank you so much for this nice intro, and I'm happy to be here.
Pumped to have you on, mate. I know we've tried over the last couple of weeks, but we couldn't make it happen, and here we are, so I'm pumped for this. Let's jump right into it. You know, obviously, what I do. I've been giving tons of pitches over the last couple of weeks to TradFi folks. You and I have had these conversations ourselves about how interesting a lot of these pitches are and what the TradFi folks like to hear, how it differs from how we would pitch to crypto folks, but just the pitch in general. For the listeners who don't know what Hyperliquid is, Tobias and I could go on for this for days. We could do a full 4-hour Joe Rogan podcast. But if you have, call it 30 seconds to 2 minutes, you have a nice long elevator ride, and someone says, say, Tobias, what is Hyperliquid and why should I maybe invest in this? What do you say to them? I think it's a great way to kick off the show. Give me the 1 minute elevator pitch on Hyperliquid.
I would start with, it's the house of all finance, but to understand this, you maybe need to be already more into Hyperliquid. So the easiest pitch maybe is to say it's an on-chain Binance, but this is just like a small part of it. But that's where I would start now, to say to people, if you know Binance, they have a lot of problems and a lot of gatekeeping going on. And if you don't want that, if you don't want your account to get frozen, you can use Hyperliquid.
I like that. Nice and easy. It's a good comparable as well. A lot of people, TradFi, exact same as crypto. Everyone wants comparables, L1s to L1s, L2s to L2s, DeFi projects, AI, so on and so forth. And when you look at the chart, I mean, BNB is always what, 4th, 5th, or 6th, maybe 7th, depending on the day for top crypto by market cap. So obviously tons of room to grow there. But Hyperliquid as a whole, and again, I'll segue out of what Tobias said there. It is an on-chain Binance. You don't have to worry about any of the stuff. It's a combination of the two most powerful and profitable businesses in crypto. It's a layer one and it's an exchange, aka a money printer. And then when we talk about the team, this is something that a lot of people don't know about. We put Jeff's a god in our eyes. Jeff is a literal God. He's an OG. He's an absolute god. I don't think a team in crypto has ever executed and done things the right way like they have with the airdrop, with the no VC funding, with the just truly community focused. It's pretty wild how Jeff and the team I don't want to say don't get enough credit, because they do get a lot of credit, but they're still not very well known. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And the last couple of days, I've not just been thinking about what they have been doing right, but if you think about all the steps that they there have to be so many moments where they could blow this up. So many decisions not to take VC funding, but also then you have 2 years where you make a lot of fees, millions every day, and still decide to not take out just a couple of percent for yourself, for your team, whatever. No, they just give it all to the HOP basically. And just after the TGE also, they kept on shipping and just, so many different things. If you think about the block size, they just halved, and so many small things that might look easy on the outside, because Jeff and the team, they don't talk about it too much. You have all those other teams that do roadmaps, announcements of announcements, and doing nothing at all. But Jeff is they can make a huge update, and it's just a small message in the Discord, and then it's done. And
it's true. It's pretty
very refreshing if you been in crypto for a couple of years. You've seen a lot of those announcements and nothing happens. And yeah, so Jeff and team are very, very different to that.
Yes, super, super correct. Another thing I love that you brought up is the buybacks. Now, this is something that blows people's heads off when, again, you speak to the TradFi folks or just whoever it is when I give the Hyperliquid pitch and when I talk about Hyperliquid. A lot of them don't know that the team buys back. And again, we're going to give rough numbers. Some days it's 1.5 mil, some days it's 4 mil. Well, let's just say 2 mil for the sake of ease. But Hyperliquid buys back $2 million of their token every single day, which is genuinely insane. And I like to sort of correlate and give an example with TradFi, which is similar to Apple, where it's like, yes, Apple is a money printer, but Apple also bought back more stock than anyone in the history of public markets from, I think it was like 2016 to present day. And it's one of the big reasons why their stock has stayed so strong and gone up so much and why they've done the splits and whatnot is because they just pump it right back into their stock. Some people don't like that. Some people do like that. If you're a shareholder, I don't see how you wouldn't like that. Sure, maybe there's an argument that Apple could have, bought OpenAI or some big AI business, and that could have potentially brought in more value. But relaying this to Hyperliquid, it is crazy how they continue to execute and do the right things. And the hype buybacks are just a crazy, crazy part. When you first started your journey to the Hyperliquid ecosystem, did you think this would ever happen? Like, 7 months after TGE, and these guys are buying $2.5 million of tokens a day. Like, it's pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah, I never would have thought that. Like in this magnitude, like the first week, it was really interesting to see, but I think most people thought, oh, that's now the first week of the TGE. There's a lot of hype, and let's see where this is at in 3 months. And that, like many folks said that, and many of those are still sidelined.
Yeah.
And regarding Apple, it's a funny thing. Today I read that from DGE, Hyperliquid created 11 billion of value for its shareholders, basically, like through buybacks and through all those fees they made. And just by also the token going up, 10x also helps, of course. But the funny thing is those 11 billion is a quarter of dividends Apple is like giving out per year. So it's already at an interesting size. Yeah. So maybe those numbers are a little, not to the point, but I thought the comparison is quite interesting. And there's not a single crypto project that like gave out that much in value creation.
No. Yeah. Well said there. I want to talk about revenue. I had Alex Venovic on the pod a couple weeks ago, and we also talked about Hyperliquid. We talked about pretty much everything. I love when he comes on the podcast because obviously he's the CEO of Nansen. So when I ask him about something, I can literally see his eyes look over at his screen. He like pulls up the dashboard. Shout out Alex, always a great guest. And we were talking about Hyperliquid and how Hyperliquid almost sort of not started, because again, what I'm about to say is asinine, so take this with a grain of salt, but Hyperliquid sort of started that revenue is the new meta trend / narrative right now. It's like in traditional finance, no shit, revenue is what matters. Like revenue is king. If you don't have revenue, you're hooped, unless you're extremely early growth and it's just your growth rate, not your revenue. But with that being said, up until like 6 months ago when the token came out and people started really following Hyperliquid, like it was never, oh, what's your revenue? You know what I mean? It was always like, what's your TVL or what's your DAU or what's insert metric XYZ. Hyperliquid sort of started the revenue meta, which again is crazy to say and not started, but made it front of mind again. And the fact that they take 97% of the revenue and buy back the token, just absolutely wild. But Hyperliquid revenue, another great thing about the team. Hyperliquid DeFi ecosystem growth. We just saw Kinetic make their announcement this morning that I believe it's going to go live in a couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, and that will be the liquid staking. Give me the TLDR on just sort of Hyperliquid revenue and Hyperliquid DeFi ecosystem growth present day.
Hyperliquid revenue is, it's funny that we even talk about the revenue meta, like you mentioned. It's the most normal thing if you look at normal companies and normal economy, but somehow in crypto, because of all the venture funding and all the meme mania, people forgot about that. Regarding revenues of Hyperliquid itself, it's basically, there are 2 parts to it. The one thing is, of course, how much volume are they generating on their prop decks, which is still the main business, of course. And depending on the day, somewhere between 8 to 10 billion on volume per day, which is crazy because if you think about it, Binance is doing 30 to 40 billion. So we are getting there. But regarding the HyperEVM stuff, we are in a really interesting position right now. We have the basic infrastructure, we have lending, we have borrowing, we have taxes on HyperEVM where you can swap Hype for other different tokens. But now they're like more innovative stuff is coming. And what's really interesting on HyperEVM is that there is still just very small amount of users. So if you want to try something, if you don't know where to be active, I think HyperEVM is the best place to be active right now. If it's as a user, but also as a builder, because there's the kicker for the builder. You have builder codes, and there is the beauty of it is you earn fees from day one. So you can build something on HyperEVM. It's really easy thanks to the builder codes, and you earn fees from day one. And this is also one more thing Jeff did right, because there are many ways to incentive builders, but most of them don't work or are not really sustainable. Like the normal way for crypto projects was we launch a token, we do some foundation, and then we do an ecosystem fund of 200 or 500 million whatsoever. And then we give out some grants, and nobody knows what those grants are for. And basically those foundations get politicized more or less. Like you have those groups of a lot of like very few people that have a lot of tokens, and they vote on some grants, and this doesn't work. We've seen it over and over again. It doesn't work. So Jeff already said there will be no like grant stuff because, it doesn't work like that. What works is we have now over 150 builders on HyperEVM, which is wild because it's like 3 months old. And they already generated 20 million in revenue for them. Like you have 150 builders and 20 million in revenue for them. 10 million is Hypercode, builder code profit, and about 10 million is referral fees. So if you want to build on HyperEVM. If you want to do anything in DeFi, use HyperEVM products because UI is better, UX is better, they're faster, they're cheaper. Yeah.
And guy, on the performance, I mean, 100, we'll call it, Hyperliquid says 200,000. I'll cut it in half just because 100,000 is still incredible. But 100,000 TPS, transactions per second, versus Ethereum's, 30 TPS. It's sort of, I don't even need to finish my sentence. Like, what are we looking at here? It's absolutely wild. And to further Tobias's point, I think there's 10,000 daily active users. That's it. Like it is literally.
It depends. Now we are up to like 20 to 30,000. Like there's 300K total users on HyperEVM, and of those, 20 to 30K are active on the daily.
Yeah, so it's still like genuinely top of the first inning here. HIP3. Something I'd love to get into. I know this is tough, so if you don't want to like go into the weeds here, it's because
I love HIP3. Let's talk HIP3.
Okay, let's do it. So I have trouble going into the weeds on HIP3 as well, but HIP3 is literally the infra layer that will allow you to build the best financial applications in the whole world. This is like what Shopify did to e-commerce, what AWS did to the cloud. This is taking over the game. You don't launch HIP3 for fun. You launch HIP3 if you're Hyperliquid to literally be the house of all finance. And now obviously there's a long roadmap until this really gets rolled out. Right now, to participate in HIP3, you need 1 million hype, which is present day, 38, 39, 40 million US dollars. That's a lot of money. I do think that will get lowered eventually, as that wouldn't allow too many people into the ecosystem. But for right now, it sets a very high barrier and says if you're going to screw around or if you're going to, G'd out, then, we're not going to let it happen. So I sort of love that. But Tobias, explain to us what HIP3 is and how genuinely powerful it is, and how it but how it has an opportunity, to actually be the infra layer to house all of finance.
You have billions over billions in liquidity. And normally all exchanges that have that, they want it for themselves. They don't allow anyone to tap into that.
Yeah.
And then Hyperliquid said, what if we just made it easy for anyone to build on us to tap into those billions of liquidity? And this is one of those like features that the more you think about it, the bullisher you get on it.
Yes.
Because on the first ideas are simple. Because if you have HIP3, as Matt mentioned, if you have 1 million hype and stake it, you can create markets on Hyperliquid, and which allows different scenarios like creating forex markets, maybe some commodity market, pre-launches whatsoever. But really interesting stuff will happen when we realize that a lot of applications that would be great products that failed because they had a big starting problem of liquidity, they will be able to build now. Like I've been talking to options guys. Like options in crypto have been tried and tried again and failed again. Why? Because of liquidity.
Not enough lick. Yeah.
You need the liquidity, and you have this chicken and egg problem. You need to have the users to get liquidity, but nobody will provide liquidity if there are no users to take it.
Yeah.
So Hyperliquid HIP3 makes this easy and allows basically any project, if they have those 1 million in hype staked, to tap into the liquidity and create options, there's almost nothing you can't do if you think about it, because you also can set your own oracle, you can set different fee structures, different liquidity structures, you name it. So if you want to play with weather data or something, predictions markets, we have now this drama around did he wear a suit or not. This won't be the case with HIP3 because you set the oracle, and if the oracle is behaving like they do now, they would lose the million hype. So there's a very big incentive to not play around.
Yeah, well said there. The liquidity point is great. I haven't found a good analogy yet. You and I are very similar in talking to you. You love good one-liners. The liquidity is almost, I don't want to say it's distribution because it's not distribution, but it's sort of like distribution, if you know what I mean.
I think Jeff said it already. Like Jeff said, he wants to build the AWS of finance. And to understand this, you have to think about what AWS enabled. Like now, half of the internet is running on AWS servers. And to scale into a cloud based on demand was a huge value driver and growth driver. Nowadays, you can't imagine how it is to do a startup with huge setup costs because you need servers. No, you just plug into AWS.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's the same with HIP3.
I mean more for liquidity. I get the good analogies, like what Shopify did to e-commerce, what AWS did to the cloud, what Uber did to taxis. I get all those analogies, but I mean strictly for liquidity, because liquidity isn't really distribution. You know what I mean? Distribution is getting as many users as possible and being as efficient as possible in acquiring those users. So it's not really distribution, but I'm trying to think of what that killer liquidity one-liner is. You know what I mean? Because Jeff's talked about this many times too, where it's he wants to be the liquidity layer of finance. And if you are the most liquid application for anything that is going to come online and will most likely be done on crypto rails, I mean, that's a pretty good goal to have, being the liquidity layer of all of finance. It's pretty darn good.
Yeah, I think the liquidity itself is maybe just the second step. The builders on Hyperliquid, they will build the
killer apps to get
everyone on. The front ends, the mobile apps, but they can't do that without the liquidity.
Yeah.
And so we need HIP3 for them to really take off. We've seen, I think there are 10 or even 20 teams that are building mobile applications on top of Hyperliquid right now.
Yeah.
So quote unquote the Robin Hood, but good. But we need the liquidity with HIP3 for them to really succeed. Because you can't have you can have the best mobile app, best UX, UI, whatever. Nobody will use you if you don't have the liquidity to be a good trading platform.
Yeah, well said. Tobias, you're on a roll here, mate. Quick shout out to Prime XBT. When we get back, we're going to keep buzzing on everything Hyperliquid related. Huge shout out to Prime XBT, longtime sponsors and longtime friends of the Crypto News podcast. We love the team at PrimeXBT as they offer a robust trading system for both beginners and professional traders. It doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a vet, you can easily design and customize your layouts and widgets to best fit your trading style. PrimeXBT is also running an exclusive promo for listeners of the Crypto News podcast. Use the promo code CryptoNews50. That's CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Again, that's CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Now back to the show with Tobias. Let's jump into hype treasury companies. For the listeners who don't know already, I work for HYLQ Strategy. We were the first public company in the world to put Hyperliquid on our balance sheet. We did this, give or take, 3 to 4 weeks ago. It's been an incredible journey, and obviously we are biased. And yes, I don't want to say this is self-fulfilling because we're not plugging this to get extra clicks. We're plugging this because this is something that I am obviously very passionate about. And Tobias has written about this and has covered us since day one as well. Not just us, our peers as well in ION, which is now HYPD and HyperEVM. So on that note as well, huge shout out to Max and the HyperEVM team. They're doing great work, and there's room for many of us, candidly. I don't think this is a monopoly opportunity where only one Hyperliquid treasury company can win. All of us can win together here. But with that being said, I'm going to throw the ball over to your court, Tobias. Why do you love Hyperliquid treasury companies so much? Give me the loot there.
Honest answer, because price go up. You have,
That's true,
like the first time, or basically we've seen how those vehicles perform with MicroStrategy, with HODL, which is Soul Strategies, and now we have it with Hype. And the interesting part that makes those treasury companies different to maybe a MicroStrategy or maybe also Soul Strategies is that now they will be able to use the Hype. Like if you acquired 1 million Hype you need for HIP3 to create markets, you have a huge business advantage that you can use in a lot of interesting ways. Nobody knows yet what ways this will be, but it's very interesting proposition to have. And the other thing that is still true is that we have not seen the Wall Street liquidity flow into Hype directly this much. There maybe are some funds that are doing this, but for the most Wall Street folks, it's still not easy or legal to buy Hype directly. So we have to give them a different vehicle, and they will use it. I mean, we've seen it with others, and they will use it with Hype as well.
Well, I mean, they're doing it right now, and you nailed it on the head. Like, this isn't like any of the, I think it's the only crypto in the top 15, Tobias, that, or I want to say maybe even top 30, that isn't readily available on all of the best crypto exchanges in the world. Like, you can't just go on in Canada, you can't buy Hyperliquid. In USA, it's very difficult to buy Hyperliquid. And it's not because Hype is illegal or anything like that. It's just because the ecosystem is still so new that these companies don't want to take the risk of adding Hype right now, or they just haven't got enough inbound because we, as folks in the Hyperliquid community, haven't perhaps done a good enough job of educating the masses about this yet. So there's still that aspect of this is a very difficult yet highly wanted asset to acquire, and we're giving you an opportunity to buy this asset. And it's not just about buying the asset, it's about buying into the ecosystem, and then having us, whether it's HYLQ or HYPD, working as hard as possible to, and my apologies if I'm putting words in their mouths, but I think we're pretty aligned here. Our job is to make our investors' dollars work as hard as possible within the Hyperliquid ecosystem. That's really all we're doing here. And again, like what you said, it's still so early. Like no one even knows about, besides our little bubble, no one knows about Hyperliquid. And I know you and I chatted about this, but literally no one knows about it. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's not just that you can't buy it on Coinbase or Binance, which is
almost all
has many different reasons. It's not, there is no demand for Hype. I think there is some other interests there as well. But the main point you mentioned, your job is to make the dollars work the hardest in the Hyper ecosystem. And we've seen that this isn't just like a marketing claim. We've seen with Hyped that they did this staking partnership with Kinetic, which is really interesting. This is just the starting point. it feels for some people that are deep into Hyperliquid that now we are on the finish line, because you've been here from day one and you've seen hype go up from like $2-3 to $40+, and you like had all this bullish news. But the truth is, like you mentioned, nobody knows about Hyperliquid.
No one. You and I have just been literally pumping Hyperliquid's, tires for the last 30 minutes here.
Let's talk the risks and the bad stuff.
Let's go risks. Let's go security and community concerns. The only ones off the top of my head are, yes, it is perhaps not as decentralized as other protocols. Many of the validators are, I don't want to say centralized in location, but a lot of them appear to be in or around Singapore or Eastern Asia. You have the team unlocks, which happen in Q4. Again, I still don't think that's that big of a risk. One, you have to let the team eat. And two, knowing these chads, they're probably just going to like stake the whole friggin' lot of it. You had the $114 million USDC withdrawal in December 2024. That was a little sketchy. But again, all in, still very, very good. But Tobias, let's play devil's advocate. Let's not talk about a ship and maybe talk about a shit for a while. What are the negs on Hyperliquid? Give me some negs, give me some objections that perhaps the other people on the side of the stand would bring up if we ask them.
One that comes up, that HyperEVM isn't performing as imagined, that there's not enough happening or some security risk there. The other thing, of course, is HLP. Maybe for those who don't know, there was an incident with Jelly a few weeks or like months ago, where the HIP vault, which is for some part doing the market making on Hyperliquid, was drained because it was forced into a position that got liquidated, to take the other side of the trade. This cost the vault of about 200 million, but I mean, they fixed it and they learned from it. The centralization part might be the main concern, and of course the team itself. Like, you have so much people queuing up to Jeff and the team that they have like a lot of pressure, let's say, to also perform. So that's what sometimes people say, what if Jeff like fails or has any issue, personal issue whatsoever? This risk is there on all crypto projects besides Bitcoin. That's also why Bitcoin is like loved so much.
Every company in the world besides Bitcoin has this exact same issue. If the founder and CEO is gone, I mean, you sort of gotta, pump the brakes and restart. Even on the decentralization thing here, Tobias, I don't think people as a whole care about decentralization as much as possible. I think we understand that if it's slightly centralized, but not fully centralized, where one or a few entities can still control everything, I think it's a pretty net positive. It usually means things can move quicker than a full decentralized ecosystem. And at heart and at its ethos, it still is very, very decentralized. So all those things I think, hopefully, and again, you and I are biased here, so listeners take this with a grain of salt, but Tobias and I have both done countless hours of research on this, and we at least have a lot of trust in the Hyperliquid ecosystem. Going back to Jeff and the team, another thing that blows my mind, and I even owe an apology to some people, is I thought the team was 20 people, 25 people large. Even a couple months ago, I was like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I must have just read something wrong on Twitter, and I apologize because I've been spreading fake news. Guys, this is a 10-person team. There's 10 people on the core team. No one does marketing. No one does sales. Like, they probably don't even, like, they literally have a 10-person team who just wakes up in the morning and hauls ass for probably 16 hours, goes back to bed, sleeps, and does the exact same thing day after day after day after day. Imagine what happens when these guys actually build out the team and build out the ecosystem. Like, it's a 10-person team that makes this much money. It's unheard of. That's Tether-esque. That's USDT-esque. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy. If you, maybe some people know him because he's quite popular, is Alex Hormozi.
Yeah.
If you think about that, it's 10 Hormozis working on building the best crypto house of all finance you can imagine. Yeah, back to the risk question. Like, I think the more you think about, okay, what could go wrong, it's really hard to come up with something that's like true or real. Like, there are those, like you say, what if the founder goes missing? Yeah, that's main risk with every project.
Yeah.
But I'm aware I'm very biased, but it's hard to like find points where this can go wrong.
No, it's true. Okay, a couple more questions. We're getting tight for time here, mate. Comparing it to other L1s, and again, I don't even really compare it to other L1s right now because I don't look at it as an L1 at the moment. I more look at it as a decentralized perp dex present day with HyperEVM adding on consumer-facing products to increase the daily active users and to increase that distribution. Again, I don't know about you, but I don't view it as an L1 because it doesn't really have at least solidified and battle tested L1-esque traits at the moment because it's still so early. But who do you compare Hyperliquid to when people ask you for crypto comparables? I know you brought up Binance. I think that's great. But what about other L1s as a whole, comparing it to ETH, comparing it to Sol, and just sort of tying that into present day market trends, just your TLDR on the actual layer ecosystem of Hyperliquid and its competitors?
Whew. Yeah, I mean,
that's a beefy one.
That's a beefy one, yeah. Comparing to other L1s, it's so early that it's really hard to say if this like gonna be able to outrun ETH or Sol. But what we've seen so far is really promising. Like, I've seen a lot of projects on Ethereum and on Solana and on all those other like L1s. And at some point, they all have the same problem. Their core foundation either doesn't really care about them, like ETH. They like saying that DeFi is not important, stuff like that is not helping. And Sol feels like very closed ecosystem or club. Like, there are some projects that are supported massively, but I would say for most projects, if you're like trying to get into the space, your upside is way higher with Hyperliquid because the users are there. Like, maybe now on HyperEVM, there are like a few, but those users are very, very active. The average value of a user in Hyperliquid is way higher than the average user on ETH or Solana. So, which is interesting. If you build a DeFi application, do you want to have a user who has like an average wallet of 10K or average wallet of $5? Yeah. So that's my stance right there. That to see this play out, we need more time, but the foundation is there to be able to compete with ETH, with Solana, with Sui, with all the other layer ones.
Tobias, a little tight for time here, mate. A couple more questions and we will wrap up. Hyperliquid, again, by the time this episode airs, it will be Thursday, July 10th. We just started H2 of the year. We just started the second half. Hyperliquid had an incredible first half of the year. What gets you going about Hyperliquid for the next half? Any particular launches in general? Kinetic is popping off for the next couple of weeks, like we talked about. Project X is going live, I believe, this week as well. We got some huge teams, huge companies coming to HyperEVM to build. But what gets you most excited? Let us know before we let you go today.
The core writer upgrade, basically. So this enables so much more innovation. Like, there's HIP3 we talked about, and then there's also core writer, which basically allows teams to use liquidity on HyperEVM, but also on the hypercore, and like send between those two, which is enabling a lot of new innovation. And regarding projects, I think this is also the key for more DeFi innovation to happen, because right now they are kind of constrained because what you can do on HyperEVM for now. But once you can tap into the hypercore liquidity with the core writer, there is a lot of things. Like, one project that comes to mind is Risk. They are building auctions on Hype, which of course makes sense to do if you have the liquidity on hypercore. And there's a lot of other stuff happening, like project-wise, that is quite interesting, like different products building volatility indexes on ETH, on Bitcoin, but of course it's run on Hype. So you will be able to trade volatility. Yeah, there's a lot happening. If I learned one thing, is that you never know what's gonna come in the next few months. Like, nobody had on his bingo cards that we will have public companies buying Hype, Jeff halving the block size because of it. Yeah, so many like different innovations. So yeah, I'm pumped.
Love that. Tobias, really appreciate you coming on. We'll definitely have to have you on for round 2 as well. Before we let you go, can you please let our folks know where people can find you personally and TR Ventures online and on socials?
Thank you so much. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. Follow me there. That's where I share most of my stuff. And yeah, that's it. I don't have anything to say to you today.
And guys, Tobias's Twitter is Reisner, Tobias, REISNER TOBIAS. And again, as always, we'll plug everything in the show notes. Huge shout out to Tobias for jumping on the show today. Huge deep dive into Hyperliquid and Hyperliquid only. A little bit of everything on Hype. And again, huge shout out to Tobias and the team for making this happen. If you guys enjoyed this one, and I hope you did, please do subscribe. It would mean the world to my team and I. Speaking of the team, love you guys. Thank you so much for everything. You guys are the best. And back to the listeners, keep on growing those bags and keep on staying healthy, wealthy, and happy. Love you guys, and we will see you on the next one. Ciao.